Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here, and I am so overjoyed, so grateful, so filled with gratitude and celebration. This is our 100th episode. Can you believe that? I'm so excited. It's really, really fun. I know I say it all the time, but this is my favorite thing of all of the fabulous favorite things that I do. Sitting down, first of all, very lovely. Having these gorgeous, expansive conversations with these gorgeous, fabulous humans has been life-giving, has been expansive. It has been just a foreshadowing of goodness to come. It has been a source of connection and collaboration, and has just spurned me on to love and good deeds. And today's episode is no different. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce you to a new friend of mine. She is such a delight. And when I actually looked at the length of this recording, I was surprised that it was only an hour, because from the time that we got on the call till the time we actually got off the call, we were on the phone for almost 2 hours. So I'm glad we did not have to break this episode up into two separate recordings for you. And you just get to engross yourself in the goodness that is Charis Santillie. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's amazing. That's the super short bio. But she tells us that she is a life balance and transition coach and the host of the Charis Your Life podcast. She is also a speaker, certified fearless living coach, certified fearless trainer, and positive intelligence trainer, and has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. A hot air balloon accident when Charis was 19 left her dad paralyzed with a broken neck and led her mom to become an alcoholic. Charis managed her internal crisis by staying ridiculously busy. She now helps high achievers go from busy to balanced. Charis believes that you can live your life, the life you really want, without the nagging guilt, fear of judgment, or sacrificing your health and sense of purpose. She is known for providing actionable steps and deep inspiration that empowers people to overcome inner challenges, finally find more peace of mind, balance their needs and wants, and live a fulfilled life on their terms, right? It's a lot. She is an amazing human. She has been through unbelievable tragedies and has just come out victorious and beautiful and full of grace and wisdom. And I'm so excited for you to have an experience similar to the one that I had, being in her beautiful presence for the conversation that we shared. And now I would like to share that with you. So without further ado, I bring you Charis Santillie. Charis, I am so excited to have you here. I'm so happy that our friend, mutual person, Jen Liss, introduced us. And like happens often on this podcast, I get to meet and learn more about a new friend at the same time as our listeners. So I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much.
I'm thrilled to be here. And yeah, Jen had raved about you, and it's so fun to be connected through people this way. This is one of the things I love most about podcasting, I have to be honest.
I could not agree more. And it's lovely when people that we know, like, trust, adore, have vetted someone
Yes.
on our behalf, because I'm sure we were talking a little bit before we hit record. I'm sure that, like me, you are also busy doing 3,000 things, that to also meet a whole bunch of new people and then figure out who would be a good fit for your podcast and all of that is just another full-time job that I'm not interested in signing up for.
Yes. No, yeah. I tried one of the websites that was basically kind of like a dating app, so to speak, for podcasters and guests. And I have to be honest, I found that just those straight referrals are just so much simpler. So I just make sure that I keep asking. And then I get connected to great people like you. So I think this is an awesome way the world works anyway, if you lean into it.
I could not agree more. So ever since I changed the name of this podcast, when I started it, I had a co-host and we were doing things a certain way. And then when that needed to shift, it was a little bit of a surprise, but also perfect timing, as the universe would have it.
Mhm.
And I had happened to be promoting one of my curated trips to Paris at the time. And in that marketing and invitation for women to join me, I was encouraging them to say yes to themselves. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, when I got the WhatsApp from my friend in France that she was no longer able to keep going, I just incorporated that question into my morning routine and my journaling and meditation time, and thought, I'm just going to look and see if there's any other podcasts that are called Say Yes to Yourself. And there weren't, which was so shocking to me. And I just thought, okay, well, there we go. And I had just happened to have a photo shoot here a couple of days prior. My friend is a photographer and she was so fun. She was taking pictures of all of my outfits that I was taking to France. And so that was really fun. So I had the cover art photo already, and we just rebranded before 9 a.m. that morning, and it became the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. And I had 10 names of people that I was ready to interview that morning. Also, such a fan of the morning routine, by the way, friends. If you don't have one, you get a lot of stuff done. And we were able just to go forward. And then following that, in the past, well, it's been this actually is my 100th episode.
Oh my gosh. Yay.
Congratulations to us. Hooray.
Woo.
So fun. And I just find myself in conversation with people 5 minutes in. I'm asking them if I can interview them for the podcast, because everything they're up to is so amazing and fabulous. And I trust that this is exactly the same.
Oh, what a great story. Love that. Love hearing that background.
Thank you. So I will start this conversation the way I start most of them. And that is to ask, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
My big yes lately has been boundaries.
Ooh, say more.
Just like all over the place. And interestingly enough, so I see a homeopath regularly. And I had the last time I saw him just a few weeks ago, I told him how the last month had gone. And it had felt like some stuff had broken open, and I definitely was setting boundaries left and right. I don't think I'd really clearly looked at that, but as I was, just spewing out everything that I wanted to share with him to kind of give him a take of where I was and what I was feeling. And he said, well, just a reminder, the remedy I gave you last time you were here was all about setting boundaries. And I was like, no way.
Wow.
That was really interesting to reflect upon. But all sorts of things in business, in personal, standing, like, I want to say standing up for myself. I don't really like the way that sounds. It's more like just taking my power back.
Mm.
I like the way that sounds. And um, saying no to some things, and literally saying the word no. I am not doing blank, and no, I am no worries about that. I'm not doing that anymore. Like an old pattern I used to have, and someone personal was worried about something with me, and because of an old thing I used to do.
And the world continued to spin.
Yeah, isn't that
You said
amazing?
no.
I know. And if anything, other things opened up for me, and I've been in a better, mood in some ways and sometimes. So it's practicing a lot of the things that I preach and teach. But it's a everything that I teach is a constant practice in my own life too. I will never claim I've got all this figured out, but I am so much better than I used to be. And it's really cool to look back. I mean, I can look back at me 5, 10 years ago and be like, holy cow, big shifts. But even to look back at the last few years, like big kind of exponential growth, I feel I've seen. And then if I look back even in a handful of months, or then if I just look at 4 to 6 weeks, it's really remarkable. And I love the fact that I keep seeing, maybe I'll refer to it as sort of some up leveling, but it's almost more like I'm envisioning kind of a going inward. It's really just and a shedding of anything that uh any mask, any pretending, any fears, um old habits, patterned thinking, beliefs, to get to the true essence of who I really am, and how can I get there and operate more in that space, and to access her more every day is a part of my practice. How do I do that? And there's a lot of different ways, but the latest thing, there has definitely been a focus or a culmination or a common theme of boundaries. And it's been everything from, like I said, literally saying no to someone about a couple things. And also,
Not too many, just a couple.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be too
Right.
many. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to just start saying no to everything,
Right.
unless you want to, and then you give yourself permission.
Totally.
And so those sorts of what can be uncomfortable conversations, were some of those. And then there can be, but I was ready. I was ready to finally say the thing. And then there's the more simple boundary moments of, don't want to eat this. I want to eat this, listening to my intuition on what my body wants right now, and trusting in that, and really, so I think there's a lot of different ways it's showed up for me.
Wow, it's so beautiful and so inclusive. As you said, it just permeates every area of your life. I've noticed for me that in the unlearning of habits and of ways that I used to approach things, I feel more aligned. I feel smarter for all the unlearning than for everything that I had previously learned and practiced. It's so great. And the boundaries they're really important. They give you some, I mean, they are the word boundary, right? So it just gives you some borders for your creative flow, for your for your intuition, for you to be and do and have and focus on where you need to. And it just kind of, I'm making hand gestures. You can't see that because you're listening. But of just kind of bringing a focus together, and it's all, you're still floating through your world and flowing like a log ride, right? Like there's trajectory and there's momentum, but it's not scattered and it's not suffering,
Yeah.
because everything is so wide. The water's not running so wide, it's channeled.
Yeah. And when you were doing the hand motion, it was kind of in the shape of a funnel, or if you think about the flowing of something, kind of the guardrails or the edges of that, that keep things in this space wherever they are flowing. I literally just recorded an episode for my podcast with one of my favorite mottos and phrases that I came up with. I think I came up with. I don't remember seeing it anywhere. At some point in the last few
Myself.
years, I came up with it. So it's flow for it, because
Oh, I love that.
I got tired of the phrase "go for it." I'm very much grew up very ambitious, high achiever, and a lot of chasing, workaholic, a lot of stuff like that in the past. And I mean, do I sometimes think and like the phrase "go for it"? Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like I hate the phrase, but a lot of the time it has that real rah, rah, go for it. You can do it. Kind of this,
Right.
like, a little too cheerleadery.
Right. Or
And
even pushing
yeah, yes,
effort. Right.
yes. It kind of that, just how does it have to have so much effort? And really my life has been very much can resonate to what you just said about unlearning. It's very much about, how do I not, I mean, it's not don't put any effort in. And I couldn't exist without putting a lot of effort in. So for me, it's just paring back to something reasonable, and choosing where to focus that effort and what feels good. And also you mentioned the word aligned, what feels aligned. So I really try to replace the phrase "go for it." I've got on my screensaver, I've got the phrase "flow for it." And I realized I need to do a podcast because this is like in my life and I should talk about this. So,
Right.
and it's very much about the alignment. And I mean, that flow connects with so many things. And one of my big things is life balance, and not the illusion of some sort of perfect equation.
Right. The oxymoron that
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that, like, unattainable. And, well, if I can just commit to doing this many times per week, and I'll stop at this hour, and then I'll go work out, and then I'll go for a walk here, and I'll do this. Like, for me, morning routine needs to have, I do like my morning to go a certain way, but it needs to have some flexibility and room to shift and move. And then my whole life and days need to have that these days, to be honest. But there is a flow, there is a definite unlearning. And for me, balance is about internal balance. And that's what I work with people the most on, and continue to work with myself on, is I feel it's less about managing your time and more about managing how you feel.
Mm. Yeah, that's really rich. And it's true. We teach what we need to learn,
Yep. So
for
it's a
sure.
constant.
Right.
The constant. And I'm so happy and grateful that that's what I'm teaching, because uh, every day I get to remind myself, say it, type it, whatever it is. And then my brain is getting reminded that we don't need to go back to the way we were. Remember, this is a better way.
Right.
So
It's
it's
so
a
good.
fabulous thing.
And it's true because we can see it often more clearly in another person, how this just shift, this minor shift of mindset, which ends up being huge. If they could implement that, it would be so amazing for where they want to go and whom they want to be and what they want to do. And to, like you said, remind ourselves that that is equally available for us. You
Yeah.
said in one of your boundaries about being ready to have some conversations that were uncomfortable. And I, one of my mentors said something that has really stuck with me, and it's on my sticky note. I have sticky notes here that remind me of what I need to remember. And she said that ready is not a feeling, it's a decision.
Oh, I love that.
And it's just true, because often we say like, oh, I don't think I'm ready. Like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't feel
Yeah.
I'm ready. I don't act like I'm ready, where it's not a thinking or a feeling. It's a
Yeah.
decision.
I do think that I think what gets in the way, I think the like,
One of the 4,000 things that get in the way.
yeah, it
Please
is
tell
very
us.
much about the thoughts and the feelings get in the way of that decision. So it is about um navigating those thoughts and emotions, sifting through, identifying what's a made up story, what's just an old pattern belief, what your brain is just stuck on because it thinks it's keeping you safe, and what else is going on in your world that needs to be sifted through and kind of cleaned out in order for that decision to be ready you can arrive at it. I think
Sure.
that
How
that
do you,
is,
no,
yeah,
please go
that's
ahead.
key. No, I just think it's interesting. It's an interesting discernment about the fact that it's not a feeling, and yet you've got to get through the feelings, manage the feelings, process the feelings, uh, or ignore the feelings. Like you got to do something about the feelings
Right.
to make the decision, because
Right.
the feelings can totally stand in your way because they are so connected with staying in your comfort zone and having you not do these things that you really want to do.
Sure. I mean, just the same way of feeling confident. Well, I really want more confidence. Well, I've I'm continue to learn is that confidence comes on the other side of courage. So I need to do the thing, and then I will be more confident about the thing. But spinning about what might happen or could happen or probably will happen, or without any hard evidence about what will happen because I haven't even done it. And so those things that, I imagine, so the first time I ever did an Instagram live, right? Like, it's like, okay, I had to have a blowout. I live on a farm. So just having a blowout is a big deal. I don't wear makeup, but if I did, I would have had my makeup done. Like it was my wedding day or something. I'm just going to go live, and who knows what I'm even going to say. Well, now, of course, I do it all the time. So when I meet somebody who says, oh gosh, I could never go live, I'm like, come on over, friend. I'm your girl. Like, we'll do it together. It's so good. Just like when people tell me they don't know how to open a champagne bottle, like, oh, I'm so glad you met me. This is a life skill. Let's get this one under your belt. So it's just really fun once we slay that dragon, once we face that lion, and then we become like a circus hand, and we're like bringing everybody into the lion pen and helping people see that they are able to do this. So obviously you do this professionally. Like, I'm just helping people get over their fear of Instagram lives lately. So I've had people messaging me that want to do their first live, and I'm so here for it. So,
That's great.
but from a professional standpoint, how do you coach your clients through this trajectory, this journey, which, they say the journey of no distance, right? From your head to your heart through your hands, which we can make take decades or minutes. How is that? How are you helping your clients with that? And, or are there other things that are more different topics that are more conducive to the type of coaching that you provide for them?
So, at this moment, am referring to myself, kind of summarizing it as a life balance and transition coach,
Oh,
because I very much work on life balance stuff. And again, on the premise of what I explained earlier about my basic concepts, just to, touch points that I gave on balance, what that means. And, And then transition seems to be a common theme too. So, and a lot of my clients are, they all tend to be high achievers and overachievers, realizing that they, aware of that,
So
like
women.
to get, and typically women. I've got a few, yeah, I've got some men, but typically women. Yes, and especially if they're in the middle-aged ish couple decades.
Yeah,
It's not so much a couple years anymore. I would say it's a couple decades, but realizing that they're like the external stuff isn't bringing how they thought they'd feel, like their life right now. It's like, wait a minute. So, well, now what? And then they realize, oh, this is like an inside job. Oh, I
Mm.
got to do some more internal work. And then something about me resonates and we click, and then they decide to work with me. And when we go from there, um, because they want to feel better more often for the rest of their life. And so they're ready to do that. So that's like the common, what I've been doing. And a lot of them, it's a transition they're choosing. It's like, I don't want to be this way. I want to, like, let's learn how to shift this. And what does that mean? And it may mean that stuff on the outside of their life, the external stuff, some of it changes, and it may mean that it doesn't. It's just a reframing, a perspective shift, a belief changing, and stuff where it just the life could look the same, and
Sure.
yet they could feel totally different. So I have no agenda. It ends up being whatever it ends up being. And then lately too, I've also been introduced to an interesting group of, and so a lot of them tend to be with a lot of business owners as well, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, commonly, not everyone, but commonly. And then I've also been introduced to a group of entrepreneurs who are at the end of their business journey and looking to sell their business or exit, and or have and realize that they had their identity, and basically they didn't do enough of the other work in the earlier on. So I'm trying to catch everybody. Can I catch them earlier on? But fast forward, we don't catch at that stage. And then kind of looking at the possibility of retirement, et cetera. And, oh, wait, business in my head equaled purpose, equaled
Mm.
identity. So that doesn't feel good to have that all go away.
Sure.
And because there's a fantasy, I'm finding there's a huge fantasy about what that is like afterward. And so it's been real interesting, these seemingly different groups, and yet it's just a different stage on the same
Great.
journey, catching at a different stage and identifying some things at a different stage. So that's who I've been helping. And the how is, my training and coaching is fundamentally in two different frameworks and modalities. One is called fearless living, and one is called positive intelligence. So I'm a
Oh.
certified fearless living coach and a certified fearless trainer, and then also a positive intelligence trainer. And I've loved these two frameworks. We woven them together. Fearless living is the core. And then there's a lot of things about positive intelligence I love. And both of them, the foundations are in neuroscience. So there's underneath it all, there's a true understanding by the people who developed these things of how it applies to how our brains work and how our brains get in our way, to be
Mm.
honest, or at least a whole part of our brain does, not the whole brain, but part of our brain gets in the way of us utilizing our whole brain to bring in the connection to the heart. And if you believe in spirit or intuition or anything bigger, to access all of that. So, so simple ways to access that is what I love about what I've learned and the way I help, and very much around showing up. And it's true traditional life coaching in the sense of trusting to ask the next best question that's going to help possibly get my client's foot in the door to where they want to go, or just crack the door open a little bit, if that's what
Sure.
it is. Some days the door is blown open. They're like through the thing. Some days they find a window,
Right.
but it's me trusting myself to listen and then see what comes up that could help them break through that. And that's what coaching did for me. Because I I'd worked with a therapist for a few decades, but I'd not known about coaching until about 11 years ago.
Okay.
And in a sec here, I can go into my backstory and explain how the heck I got here.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you what brought you into coaching. So that's great.
Yeah. So, and it connects with the type of people I'm helping too. It's interesting connection because,
For me, it's as if there's an infinite design.
I know,
It's amazing.
serendipity in its
It's,
finest.
yes.
One of my favorite words. So,
Great one.
my first experience with high achievers and entrepreneurs was my parents.
Mm,
And so I grew up in this household where they were, by the time I was 12, had launched a business, and then it grew, and it started out of our kitchen.
amazing.
So that was really fun to be a part of and watch. And so then I modeled after them and, did got all the accolades and the things in high school that I could, and the good grades and all the stuff, because I saw them working hard, and I'm sure I came in with something about that in me. And then, of course, for me, the environment affected me too, obviously, and watching them and seeing how dedicated they were to their efforts in their business. And for my mom, she definitely is an example of a person who got very personally attached to her business.
Mm,
Very much so. Very much like it was her baby and her passion, which is very common for a lot of business owners,
sure.
especially entrepreneurs that build something from the ground up. So it was like part of the family. So that's the experience from my childhood, and it was a wonderful time. I went off to college, came back for my dad's 50th birthday celebration, and it was the summer I was turning 19, and we went for a hot air balloon ride. And it was a really hot day. We almost didn't go up, but we did. And beautiful ride, definitely hot, especially with that fire burning and how
Sure.
hot it already was. And then when we came in for the landing, something went wrong, and the pilot knew we were coming in too fast. And he told us to, brace ourselves, like we're coming in really hard. If you've never been in one,
I've never been in one.
you don't quote unquote fly these things. It's
Sure.
like you're controlling hot air and how much is escaping out of the balloon based on the little flaps and things. So it's a real interesting thing. This type of it's not like an airplane where you got a lot more control. So we hit the ground hard and the basket tipped. And then we came back up, like the air current, just the way that everything was, it kind of lifted us back up again. So he's like, okay, we got to go in. Well, let's try this again, but like really hold on. So we went, my dad directed each of us to the corners, because they have the bars, the vertical like poles at the
Okay.
corners. And so we each grabbed one of those and like held on really tight, like wrapping your arms around this bar, except that there weren't enough corners for all of us. So my dad is reaching down the side of the basket and trying to grab on there. Well, we went in for another landing, hit really hard. The basket tipped again. And this time my dad fell out.
Oh, Charis.
And his foot got wrapped up with one of the cords, and he was drug about the length of a football field through farm fields, and then lifted up, hanging upside down about 15 feet in the air. I saw that. I was looking over the edge and saw him hanging there. I was in complete hysterics, absolutely
Sure.
terrified and screaming and completely losing control emotionally. And I don't know how, but somehow we got to the ground. I don't remember that part. And I just remember we all raced over to him, and he was absolutely beat up, as you can imagine. And when he saw me in complete hysterics, because everybody else there was adults, and it's just a little more common. Something seems to happen with older adults, that they can stay calm, and more often can stay calm in that very first panic moment of a
Sure.
traumatic and chaos. And I was just I hadn't quite turned 19 yet. So I was still definitely in a zone of complete hysterics as the first reaction. So he saw me, and in order to calm my fears, because he's my daddy, he looked at me and said, "You should see the other guy."
Oh, I love him.
I know. So he had a broken neck and became paralyzed. And so he's physically paralyzed. Well, to summarize and look at my mom and I, we became emotionally paralyzed in our own ways, which I think is a very common reaction people have. And not to just any big event like this or big trauma. I think a lot of people become emotionally paralyzed for even the more seemingly mundane little t traumas of life, and the more average normal things that most people experience. I think that still a huge majority can become emotionally paralyzed, and that's kind of a precursor to what I'm doing now.
Right.
But my mom's emotional stuff, she turned to alcohol to numb her pain. And they ended up losing everything over the course of a handful of years, and including the business too, which definitely, as I mentioned earlier, ironically, it's interesting that I'm now working with some people who are trying to deal with the fact that they had their identity wrapped up in their business and their work.
Right.
Because she definitely did. And it took it extremely personally to lose that business. I mean, there'd already been many other losses that she had, but it was a big final straw for her. So after a few decades of her challenges with alcohol, her liver gave out and she moved on. Then my coping mechanism was amping up the busyness and the work and the ambition, and head down. It started the night at the hospital. I thought once I gathered myself, because there's, the emotions ran through, and then I was kind of in just shock. And then I was like, what can I do to help? What do I do now? I see people around me they're starting to freak me out, because I'm seeing now the reactions of everybody else kind of change and set in. Right. So I start making phone calls. Who can I call? What can I do? Calling their staff, calling relatives, whatever I need to do to help. And I'm looking at it now too. I can see that literally my brain and whole system was like, yes, this is a good way to be. This is helping you right now. Right. And then it started locking that in as this, let's just amp up the high achiever and the work and the head down and the busyness, because that's going to keep you safe right now. Yeah. So I can definitely see that was a trigger point for a shift of it getting a little out of control. So a few decades of a lot of, it's not that I was never happy or had fun or laughed or didn't go on vacations and play or even be able to unplug. I did. It's just that most of the weeks and most of the days were super intense and focused on work and really long hours. And then I would turn off and unplug for a couple weeks. Right. And that, so it really was not a emotionally or physically healthy way to live.
Not sustainable. Exactly.
So it finally was catching up with me about 11 years ago when I met a coach. And the short story on that is I was at a business event and I met this networking, meeting random strangers and chatting. Yeah. We were outside on a little deck outside the foyer, and I end up telling this guy my story. It'd been almost 20 years at this point. Wow. I end up telling him the hot air balloon accident story. And I've told it before, but for some reason it came up in a different way this time. And there was definitely a different vibe. Sure. And he picked up on that. And his question to me was, I get your dad has been paralyzed for 20 years, but why are you paralyzed? And that was the moment when I
have chills.
Yeah, that's the moment that I mean, now I'd already talked about the fact that I can look back and understand emotional paralysis, but that was a moment, it cracked me open. And the next day I happened to meet the keynoter of that day. I missed her presentation, and I heard she was fabulous. And it turns out she's a life coach. So I went up to her. She had a big family story too that I got to hear when I met her. And I was like, okay, I feel like you resonate with me. You can help me. I don't know what's wrong with me right now, because I feel like I should be over this and I should be enjoying my life. Things are quite dandy, supposedly, but I
Right.
don't, like, on the outside. So that was the beginning of a decade-ish journey of personal development, adding on coaching in addition to therapy for different reasons. They're both fabulous.
Right.
And then trying other different healing things over the years too. And then realizing that this is what I wanted to do. And if I really, really, really look back and connect all the dots, I do believe this is a purpose, a calling, because I mean, if I really look back, like, it's no accident, I don't think, that I was chosen to be a natural helper in elementary school, which is basically a peer-led, like, counselor, essentially, like peer voted, or just all these other things that I've done, using my voice in different ways, comfortable with speaking in high school, like just all sorts of things. So here I am now helping people who are in some ways a prior version of me without the same story. It doesn't have to be anything big either, but that I can help to shift a bit faster than I did is my hope too.
Oh my goodness. Charis, thank you for that just generous gift. I told you. This is how you know I'm not lying. That was so generous of you to share that with us. Thank you very much. And I just want to acknowledge that, and also just really applaud your not your reaction, but your response to that gentleman on that balcony telling that story. And you were able to, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
And you were able to hear his question in what seems to me the heart and the desired way he wanted it to hit your ears. It did, because you allowed that, because you were ready, because you had made a decision that you didn't know that you were making, but that you were ready, and that you just happened to be at this networking event, and this woman just happened to be the speaker, and she just happened to have a story. And we can even just lean into the serendipityness of that. Serendipityness, is that a word?
I like it.
Right. We can say that that's serendipity, and we can say that it's coincidence. And if we believe in something higher, I do, just to know and to see that all of this is happening for us, not to us. And even in the midst of that tragedy, and you suffered many tragedies that day, of course, and then the days following, watching the two humans that you rely on for your life and security manage their circumstances in opposite ways, and to witness that, but also to hold it like only a daughter can. Like,
Oh yeah.
to hold and to own and to wonder, what could I have done different? Like, what did, all of those questions. So just to, first of all, grow and evolve into the incredible human that you are.
Thank you.
Of course. And that you continue that generosity, and you don't keep it to yourself and to your immediate family, that you are using it in accordance with your purpose. And because of what you've witnessed, and because of the people that you coach and help, you are setting yourself up to not repeat what you see. Like, you are able to separate your purpose from how you live your life.
Yes.
And you can see how they go together. They're in tandem, but they are not, they're integrated, but they're not one thing. So you get
yes, absolutely.
you get to choose you and do this thing instead of having this thing take over.
Yes, because I love that distinction. So, because the fact, especially since I talked about purpose earlier, and then I mentioned that this feeling like my purpose, but to clarify that, because I think you get it from what you just said, but to clarify that for the listeners too, or I want to drive it home for a sec, is that what I have come to really integrate and embody is that my purpose is connected with trusting myself, speaking, helping others, serving others while serving myself. I have to serve myself first, to be quite honest. That's what I've come to
be
learn.
quite effective.
Yes, to be quite effective. Yes. But I mean, years ago, I could have never said that. I would have thought that was, selfish. And I hate that selfish has got a bad rap.
And
but
we're good girls. So
yeah.
that's how we give. Giving. That's how I receive.
Yes.
Don't you know?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I heard somebody say, to fill your cup, like that,
fill your cup first.
All those things, but to fill your cup to overflowing, and we give from our saucer. We don't give.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
We don't give from the cup. The full cup belongs to us. We give from the saucer.
I love that. Oh, that's fabulous. Yeah. And so what this means is, for me, I'm really aligned that, like, there's a lot about how I feel. Like, I literally, that's dictating, and my listening to my intuition, my gut, or what I talk about in some of my coaching too, is my inner compass, because I like that visual. Listening to that, it's like a whisper. You have to catch it before it gets drowned out by all the other crap that can come in, that's trying to keep me safe. It's not all crap, but it's, it doesn't always need to be listened to. And so to listen to all of that it doesn't matter how it shows up, meaning, like, this business could go away. I'll find another way to live this authentically. And it shifts each, it's like, I felt compelled to do a podcast, so I did that. How long that'll go on, I don't know. Someday write a book, like, all the different things. So I let it show up however it needs to show up. And it's literally connected more with how I am being, the whole being thing versus the doing. And so if I am being authentically me, then the purpose is being fulfilled, because it just naturally will ooze out of me somehow and help others.
Right. And
that's the key.
Morph. It will continue to
change and morph. And that's more exciting for me anyway.
Right.
I finally am really embracing the fact that I'm a maverick, and I need to have things be able to shift, and I can't just be stuck in one thing. And if I want to change it, let's change it. If I decided I was going to do one thing today, but I changed my mind, I want to be able to do that. I mean, I honor my commitments to clients and things. I don't mean I'm just like willy-nilly, but it's just, but
nothing about you feels willy-nilly.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Oh my God.
A lot, but it's also, we're holding it all very loosely.
Yes.
And I'm not pretending that I know more than infinite intelligence.
Yeah. Loosen the grip.
Yep.
Loosen the grip on everything. And the more we do that, the better it is. It literally is a lot about loosening the grip on realizing we have expectations a lot. I mean, we're living in a lot of expectation, and that's what brings a lot of our discomfort and disappointment and suffering and anxieties and all these things. And so just loosening the grip on having control is an absolute illusion there. So coming to accept that, and then really, but integrating that into our whole system is a whole nother story, because our brain is convinced it can control our lives. And so we have to work with that. And I was convinced for many years that I could try to control other people. I tried to save my mother multiple times.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, because that's what a good daughter would do. And I loved her
Well, it's your
dearly, love her dearly.
responsibility. It's your responsibility.
Oh, of course. Of course it was.
Yes. Right. Are you an only child? Are you firstborn daughter?
So I'm my mom's only. I'm my mom and dad's only. My dad has two boys from a prior marriage.
Okay.
So they are 7 and 10 years older than me, and they grew up living with their mother.
Sure.
So I basically grew up as an only child.
Right. And you're the girl. So.
And a girl, and my mom's only.
Right. So it is your responsibility.
Yes.
All society, all the stone tablets are carved that's it. So that I really also just want to acknowledge that and applaud you choosing yourself and healing in that process, and not going down with the ship.
Yeah. It's interesting. So the year I got certified in coaching was I was the same age that my mom was at the time of the accident. And it was a real pivotal marker for me, because I was like, whew, okay. So her path and life took this trajectory at that age, and mine is taking this trajectory. And just, yeah, now I'm getting the tears. Just so grateful for everything the universe brought me, the people, the wisdom, the intuitive hits and then acknowledging so gratitude for those things, and acknowledgement for myself that I was able to take the actions I needed, speak up, listen, ask for help when I needed it, and be able to have my life go on a trajectory. Not that the accident was her choice. I just mean that, of her, but I could have, like you said, I could have gone down with the ship. Yeah, absolutely. And I, in some ways, had started to, and busyness and workaholic is an interesting type of coping mechanism and addiction, because
perfectionism, right?
Yeah, it's connected with perfectionism. It's also connected with, and it's socially accepted.
Yeah, and it's a trauma response.
It's a trauma response, and it's like, it's almost like you get it's not only accepted, you get like bravo for being such a hard worker. Yes, applauded. That's the word. Yeah. So it's almost encouraged, like,
you're killing
the way to do it, at least in this country, not necessarily every culture, but in the US for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a little it's an interesting one in that regard.
I was a part of a seminar, I guess, a class, a workshop of sorts at my church several years ago. And when the practice was, we were supposed to identify something that was an addiction, and we could choose from whether it was food, whether it was alcohol, whether it was porn. I mean, it was at church, so people might not have been choosing that box, even though they might have been applied. Who knows? No judgment. But busyness was an option. And that was definitely I told you earlier about my paper calendar. Like, I loved the paper calendar, and it was full, and it was so good. And we implemented the 12 steps to go through whatever our addiction was. It was powerful. And that was, like you said, it's a socially acceptable, applauded, look at you go addiction.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
is
that's
being us.
fabulous that you did that. Yeah, I went to Al-Anon for a number of months in her
Mm,
final time,
sure.
as a, at least final time in as a human here.
Yeah.
And it was very, very supportive to me. And then I highly encourage people to look into it if I'm sure most people have heard about it, but
Yeah.
if you're curious what the steps are, you can go look them up. You can go to an Al-Anon meeting to check things out. That's for uh, families or friends of, and it kind of can feel maybe a little less intimidating if you to kind of go into that group
Sure.
as an initial entry point if you're curious. And really wonderful organization. I love that you did that. And so fellow
Right.
busy bee,
That's right. That's
recovering
right.
busy bee.
Yes. And it takes on, it's a tricky one because I feel like even in recent months that I'm continuing to niche down, and I feel like I'm doing so much less than I used to. And yet it still takes all day long every day and I'm not getting it done. So there there is still some remnants of my addiction in there. And I hadn't really thought of that. So I'm grateful for this conversation because I'm I've heard myself say, I thought I was doing less better. Why is this still taking all day long? I'm just doing less and
Well,
making
everything
more. I don't know what I'm doing.
everything's gonna, no matter what you're doing, it's gonna take all day long because you're living.
Right.
So I think it's, a little bit of a reframing there of your life is taking all day long. Life takes all day long. So
Because,
but how are you feeling in your life? If it's feeling too full and too busy, and or you're frustrated because you haven't gotten done the things that you are on the list, then there's some stuff there you can look at. Like my coach once said to me years ago, I remember this, you will never, ever, ever, never, ever, 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 ever.
gives you
I
time
felt
to
like
get
she
the
went on for like
pencil,
50
right?
evers.
I've got my pen.
I
Go, go.
know,
What is it?
ever finish everything you want to do and have on your list
Oh, are you
and that you
sure?
have ideas for. And and she really just drilled it home. And I just sat there and in the way I was receiving it at that moment and what I needed to hear, I was able to hear and feel a relief.
Right.
There's a part of me that was like, oh, seriously? That's so sad.
Are you sure? Because
But
I
then,
try. Give me another week. If I had a week that nobody knew about,
yeah,
I'm pretty certain I could get it all
I know
done.
exactly. But that I read just that one moment, I will come back to always, and I think of often, and it helps me continue to chip away at the pressure I've put on myself and the tension in my shoulders and the stuff when I feel that, and the posture and the like, oh, okay, let's just take a breath. Like, yeah, you creative person, give yourself credit. Yeah, creative genius, all of these ideas, all this stuff and capabilities and cool stuff you've done and more cool stuff you're going to do. And you're not going to do it all. Can you be okay with that? Where can you find the peace to know that it's okay and it's literally impossible?
Right.
Literally impossible. So if I keep living, if you keep living, if anybody has moments of living like that, it's like we've owe it to ourselves. It's our responsibility to figure out how to support ourselves or get support in order to shift that so we're not on that
Right.
wheel spinning each day and just constantly looking at how much more there is to do and how much we didn't get done, because then we're not getting the
Everything.
juice. We're not getting the juice out
We're
of the,
missing everything.
yeah.
Right. Another thing that a coach said that helped me with that concept is, it's also on my sticky note. You will not miss out on what's meant for you.
Oh, I love that too. Yes,
So it's just
absolutely.
like, oh, okay. Because I feel like I start with I'm doing all these things because they're good and they're here. And you're in California. I grew up in California, wanting to live in New England my whole life. So now I'm here and I'm like, this place is off the hook. It's beautiful. I live on a farm. It's produce is coming out of places I didn't even plant. So of course I need to preserve it and make a jam and make scones and have a better breakfast and serve the scones, and pears are dropping. And if I use this for the scone, I can use this to turn it into cider. It's like, oh my gosh. And there are seasons here,
Yeah.
which in California, they're not
Not
as
so much.
pronounced as here. It actually makes time go faster in my
Yeah, feel like
daily.
it does. Yes, I grew up in a very seasonal place, southeastern Washington. We'd get
Oh,
snow and
sure.
ice, and then we'd get over 100 degrees in the summer.
Right.
So yes, absolutely, it can have that sense for sure.
There's just this movement that, and then now it's fall. So, oh, okay. I have to close down summer and do fall and then close that down because that doesn't actually last as long as the calendar says.
Yeah,
There's just, there is so much with each season, and it's all in my perspective because I can say that sentence and not change any of the words. And I can say there's so much in each season, or I can say there's so much in each season.
yes. Oh, I love that.
So
Yes,
I
yes.
will pay you for this coaching call. Like, this is so good. I'm just getting so many beautiful
Oh, I
just
love that.
reminders for my heart.
And there's something else you said too that I can't help but call attention to. So first of all, everybody, this is a gem that she just like threw out there, is that you can say the exact same words. And in Fearless Living, we talk about coming from fear, from freedom.
Mm,
And so you can say the exact same words, or you can do the exact same action, words or action, and it can come from fear or freedom.
right.
And so it's a great, I mean, that tone change, that shift, telling your brain and your body this can be viewed differently. And like I said, any action, you can say things, do things, and any of it can be identical, but it can come from a different place in you. And so to catch when you're in each of those places and then try to shift yourself and learn how to shift yourself so that you can act out of freedom more and be more expansive and be the second way you presented that.
Yes.
There's that is beautiful.
So
And
much. And
one thing you said, and then I need to do fall. So I want to throw out there a little invitation. What if
yeah,
you tried to be fall?
I could be fall. Right.
Sounds a little more fun, right? I
It
want to like
does.
be the season instead of do the season.
And I am fall. So
Good.
I can be
Great.
fall.
Love
Fall
it.
is a great place to start. And it's so true. I know this is going to end up being 2 episodes. Everything in my body shifted with that awareness. And it's continuing. Like when you have that yummy, gorgeous Russian River Pinot and it has just such a long finish that you don't even want to take another bite of food. That's how my body feels still from that shift of there's so much in this season.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I'm
So ride
making
that
myself a
wave.
sticky note that says that and add it to my window here.
Oh, that's yummy.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are a gift. This has been a gift. Please tell everybody how they can find you and follow you and be in your orbit. And please say that you're taking on new clients because there will be a long list. I will be at the front. This has been beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. This has been beautiful. You are just lovely. So let's see. On all the socials, I'm at Charis Your Life. Easy way to know how to spell and pronounce my name. I mean, they'll have to put it in the show notes, but it's like the city Paris, but it's with a CH. So that's an
We're
easy
all
one.
Paris lovers here. So
Yep, perfect. And website, charisyourlife.com. So there's a couple different ways people can do some things with me right now. So this being fall, it's a great time. I know a lot of people, like, they just got, like, if they have families, everything kind of, all the schedules shifted, and it's kind of like, okay, get down. It's definitely a vibe of get down to work and get some stuff done before the holidays. This is the vibe. So it's a perfect time for people to find me, because let's change that to let's take a full breath. Let's lower the shoulders, and we can still get down to work and we can get some stuff done, but let's do it where we have some peace of mind and we're not just racing through. And then all of a sudden the holidays are here and the year end is here, and then January is here again. And then, 2024, that's the year when I'm going to put myself first. That's the year I'm actually going to do the healthy thing that I said I was going to do. That's the year I'm going to, let's not do that.
Right. 23 was supposed to be for me. 24 doesn't rhyme with anything. So let's do it now.
That's awesome. So here's what I invite you to do. Number one, you can, if you're at all interested, I have a program called Busy to Balanced.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. And a little intro into that, a free training video where I have a couple really great exercises. You can get a little taste of, well, you got a little sprinkle of some coaching kind of things today, but you can get a little more full on taste for my coaching style in that free training, 30-minute video. And then that also, right now, as I have it up and stands, there's also an exclusive offer to join the program. And so there's a cool opportunity there to have some savings and be able to get in. Again, it's a really great time of year for this kind of thing. So something to consider. That you can go to grab at charisyourlife.com/video. Okay. Perfect. So, and then I do private coaching as well. At the moment I'm saying this and recording this, I do have a handful of openings right now to go through, fall or year end, or some people longer. It depends. I've got different package options. So there's different possibilities there. And there's a couple different ways to approach that. You can do a trial single session, or you can just dive in and grab one of my spots while they're available, since there's only a couple left here for right now. And you can reach out to me, either DM me at Charis Your Life on the socials, or email hello@charisyourlife.com. And then I can send you the info and you can see what will work for you. So those are what I've got going on right now.
Perfect. And we will link all of that in the show notes. And thank you so much. I'm so happy that we were connected and thrilled that this will not be our last opportunity to be together.
Wonderful.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site, or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.